Thank you. Good morning, everyone. How are y'all feeling today? Tired? A little tired. I'm a little tired. I'm gonna be honest. Those who don't know me know I'm very. Y'all, we had a time last night. And those that don't know, sorry, should have been there. It was a good time. Real quick though, if you were a open mic night performer, see me quietly in the back where the coffee usually is. All right, we're gonna get this started. I'm not reading bios because we have a really powerful conversation that we want to close out with, and we also want to give time for you all to engage with our speakers. So, what we're going to be talking about is when laws threaten our work and our very lives, how do we respond? Boldly, safely, and together? Advocacy Unplugged brings raw truth, and y'all should know once you get the speakers up here, you'll get the raw truth, radical honesty, and collective strategy to the center of the conversation. This now 60-minute conversation opens with four dynamic panelists answering one of the two urgent questions in just 2 minutes each. So we're giving them 2 minutes to answer these questions. And then we're going to be passing it over to you with our lovely moderators. So I first want to bring up our lovely moderators. Elena Ferguson with PWN, Positive Women's Network. Give her some love. What are we doing? And then Deketra Griffin with the U.S. People Living with HIV Caucus. Give them some love. All right, and then hold on, I'm getting to my notes. I cannot see. Here we go. All right, next up, and I want y'all to give each speaker some love, some love, some love. The one and only Vanita Ray, representing the U.S. People Living with HIV Caucus. The one and only Max Boykin, campaign manager of Save HIV Funding.
Y'all don't know.
I,
This is the king right here, y'all.
yes. Give it up for Tori Cooper, Director of Strategic Outreach
shit.
at HRC.
I salute you, queen.
We'll do a quick call out. Is Christian Castro here? All right, so we're just gonna work with who we have.
He had to leave.
Okay, and yeah, I'm gonna pass it on to you, Elena. Are you ready, or you want me to stall? I can stall. Okay, all right, I'm done, y'all.
I saw you making notes. I can't.
Hi everyone. Welcome to Advocacy Unplugged. This is gonna be our plenary where we get to hear from y'all, get to hear your reflections on two of our key questions today. I guess I'll not do the bios since I think we know everybody up here. But I guess we can just get started. To our panelists, we're going to be talking about two questions today. How do we show up when our work becomes illegal? And how do we support and protect each other when our lives are under attack? Panelists, could you reflect on one of those questions?
I'm looking at you.
Hey y'all. Lena, thank you for that question. One of the things that I think a lot about is it's important to understand one's history and how in which we got here, and understanding the spaces. It is time to dig deeper. Everything that we have done in the past is not enough. I think about to the spaces that we have done in the past. That does not mean not rest. That does not mean take time to rethink what has been done. But it is also time to take more action. It is time for folks to be more strategic in the way in which they do so. Also, going out there without any strategy, any thoughts around it is not the best way to do so. I think to Fred Hampton, who one of the things that he said was, you don't fight fire with fire, you fight fire with water. And one of the things that in order for us to do that, he also said, peace to you if you're willing to fight for it. And I say the same thing, and health to you if you are willing to fight for it. We must have to fight for the health that we want. We don't have to fight for the things that we knew that was already wrong. But we do have to think about what is, and imagine a system that is actually better. And also, while we are imagining for the system that is better, we also have to protect our folks. And I think for something that I've also thought for myself is, as I continue to do this work, is not to continue perpetuate harms to the people that are closest to me. I think that is also something to think as I continue to do the work is how do I also make sure I'm taking care of myself, making sure that my community is okay. And that also means, as Tiomi has said, like much like Underground Railroad, it looks like for us being able to make sure that our folks actually can get access to those things, legal or illegal. It means actually engaging and organizing the informal economy. And if you don't know what the informal economy, that is sex workers, that's folks that sell drugs, that's folks that don't do a W-2 every time that they're doing at the end of the year to get their tax returns back. They are the ones that keep folks medicated. They're the ones that keep folks feeling good in the community outside of the regular systems. And those people are some of the most important folks for us to actually organize in this time, especially when you got a crook up in the White House. So when you think about those things, you have to think about, okay, how do we make sure that everyone understands, like, oh, this isn't right. What you are doing is survival, and what we want to be able to do is thrive. And how can we organize folks to that? And I think that is like one of the connecting points that we can do in this space.
All right, so it is impossible for human beings to be illegal.
Woo! Say it again.
It is impossible for human beings to be illegal. I want to make that abundantly clear. So when I first saw, read, and heard the question, I was thinking that's a crap. It's a pile of crap. I stopped cursing in December.
Oh.
But you know what I say it for me. It's a pile of what? Shit. Thank you. Okay. All right. So it is. So people can do illegal things, such as the President of the United States, who does illegal things all the time. Is that better? Is that better? I'll use yours then. Okay. That's better. Thank you. Perfect. So people can't be illegal. People can do illegal things. And I say that in part because there is an entire party that is framing people who are immigrating to this country to find, in the pursuit of freedom, in the pursuit of health, in the pursuit of happiness, to get away from oppression, to get away from corrupt political systems, ironically. And they're calling them illegals now. People can't be illegal. There are folks who would say that people who are living with HIV are illicit and immoral and all of these other things, words that really kind of take on the same slant as terms like illegal, in part because they don't care to know the truth. And I think it's disgusting. I think that is immoral. I think it is an incredibly dishonest way to attempt to run a government and to lead a people and to lead a country. And it also erases the history of this country. When we hear folks talk about criminalization and illegal aspects of a person's identity, as a trans woman, I laugh even just saying that. But when we talk about things like that, we have to acknowledge that the people who created these laws had none of us in mind. None of us.
Including the Constitution.
Those are the people who wrote these laws. They didn't have any of us in mind. They didn't have white gay men in mind. They certainly didn't have black cisgender women in mind. They had no concept of what trans and gender non-binary folks were. People who didn't speak English as a first language with the exception of Martin Van Buren, all the presidents did. He was Dutch. A lot of people don't know that. And so they didn't have any of us in mind when they created these beautiful documents, yet documents that need to be updated so that they are much more inclusive of us, so that they don't attempt to illegitimize people's identities in the way that the Republican Party is attempting to do. And so when you hear people talk about legalization or the delegitimization of people who are living with HIV and all of our different intersectional identities and the legalization of crimes related to HIV exposure, remember, they're just saying because you're a person who's living with HIV and you possibly expose somebody to HIV, that you should be incarcerated. And even some Republicans, you can Google it yourself, have even said they should be put to death. Keep in mind that those are the same people who have no idea what our lives are like, none whatsoever. They willfully admit that they don't know us. And so they're creating, some even say people like me and some of the folks in the audience don't even exist. And so if they're saying that we don't exist and they're saying that we don't know us, they're also giving their hand away. They are reminding us that they don't know what the hell they're talking about. And so we have to continually remind them and to remind the people that we love and the people that we support and the people that support us that they don't know what the hell they're talking about. I'm real. If you pinch me, Max, I probably will pinch you back. But you will also realize I am a real person. You are real. All of us are real. Our identities are real. Our experiences are real. And so we must, each and every time that we hear these people give misinformation and disinformation, that we correct it immediately, every single time, full stop.
I need to hear the question again, so you can go. I have CRS, y'all. I can't remember shit after a minute.
The question again is, or the questions are, how do we show up when our work becomes illegal? And how do we support and protect each other when our lives are under attack?
Read the first one again. I was talking to.
No, you're good. How do we show up when our work becomes illegal?
Fighting for right is never illegal. It's never illegal. This country was built because people were fighting for their rights and came here and then decided to replicate the system they left.
Absolutely.
So, what we do is all activity in good activity. Stop and think. We need to play a long game. Everybody wants to just run around and do something. We are in the fight of our lives, and it's illegal, so we have to operate. We need to be concerned with security. We need, those of you with privilege, use it for our benefit. We ain't marching because the police will be out there on us. So we looking at y'all who get Facebook mad, Twitter mad, then go in the ballot box and vote your own interests and forget the rest of us. Someone from Mexico or any other country is our fight. And if you only speak for this black woman, we've left out the rest, because if they come for them tomorrow, what happens, Tori?
Come for us in the night.
So we have to be more strategic. They're waiting to pull the U.S. military out on black and brown bodies in the streets. So I need you white folks to remember that. If we are together, y'all on the outside. You see, we just pardon folks who just kill people. Were any of them black or brown? So when it gets illegal to advocate, we strategize and advocate. We do not stop. We get together in groups. We learn how to do it better. When they first, slavery, when it was ending, first of all, the Emancipation Proclamation didn't end slavery. So first, let's learn some truth. It was the 13th Amendment. We have a job to educate others, and we have a job to protect others. Trans fights are my fights. Immigrant fight is my fight. I'm a proud Black woman, and it's my fight. But we are not separated. The second question, please. I'm sorry, y'all. I had a rough night.
The second question is, how,
Absolutely.
Wait, what? We are all immigrants.
Absolutely.
We are the only ones who were forcefully stolen. And here we are, how many decades later? Now we're banning books, which the 10 Commandments in a classroom. What hypocrisy is that? And in my opinion, I'm going to call it out when I see it. And let me say this, I'm not asking you to put your body on the line. There's a whole lot of ways to call out. I love to study other people's rules and use them against them. I'm sorry, the second question?
yeah, the second question is, how do we support and protect each other when our lives are under attack?
I think I just told you. Strategize. You are here. Let me tell you something. I've been at HINAC6 since 2016. And one thing I'm really furious about, when we go home, I see maybe a third of you use what you got here. If you're not, save this space for somebody else who's going to do something with it. Because people spend time and money. This is a training academy. It ain't a conference. I'm glad y'all had a good time because we deserve that. You have to find the joy in the midst of this. But if you go home, you've just stolen from us when you do not go home. And I don't care if you start with your family and friends. Okay, educate yourself and then educate others. But we must fight in numbers. Where they may have money, I know we do too. We got people power. There's letter writing. There's false names you can use. There's groups of folks we can go educate. We ain't got to say you living with HIV. So we got to they took 50 years to overturn Roe. We are playing a long game. Okay, I'm not impressed by words. I'm impressed by actions. So I need you all to remember, trans immigrants, I don't care where you from, you are our people, and that's what we do. We don't, if I'm in a room just like them black jokes and you sitting there and you don't say nothing, you're a white person, shame on you. I used to my friends say, no trans talk. Now, it's everybody. If you say something negative to trans, the conversation's stopping right there. White people, educate your people. They're not listening to me. So don't be sitting here just sitting with us. I expect you to take this back to your people and educate them. That's how we fight, because you can get in the door, I can't get in. Do not send my trans sisters and brothers, my black and brown people, to people we know don't like us. That is your job. So what we do is we get more strategic. You got privilege, use it for the good of all of us. And if you're going to be here, if I see you not using what you learned here, I've been letting it go since 2016. I will not let it go anymore, because we have given you something of value here. I ain't telling you how to use it, but I'm telling you damn sure better be using it.
Go ahead, my brother. Go ahead. Just open it up.
It never stops. So don't get, oh, I won this, so I don't have to do nothing else. We ain't done.
People can't record.
Before you go to the next question, because I was trying not to say anything. Is this on? With the microphones. Okay. All right. So you got me riled up a little. Good. One of the things that came to me while you were talking is that This is a room full of people who have different gifts.
Yes. That's right.
There are some folks, and I can call us, I can see Deidre in front of me. I know Sonia Jean Millman is in the room. There are folks who talk about their HIV in ways that both uplift people and scare the hell out of other people. Thank you. That's not everybody's gift. What I also realized is that one of the ways that the Republicans and the conservatives have been so successful in the last couple of years, because they hadn't been that long, is that they have figured out ways to infiltrate us. And so what Vanita said about white folks, it also applies to folks who aren't white too. Some of you can get into some of these spaces and you have to infiltrate from behind the enemy line. There are a lot of us who hold a lot of privilege in this room. A lot of us. There are a lot of folks who are not trans in here who get invited to spaces that trans people will be arrested if we try to set a foot in. When you get in there, you infiltrate from the inside out. There are a lot of people in here for whom Spanish might be their first language or French might be their first language. When you get inside those doors, la puertas, you infiltrate the enemy from the inside out. And so it is important to fight using a tool. We got a lot of tools this weekend. Use the tools that you have to not just open the door, but to knock that bastard down so that others may walk in the places that you had to crawl in.
And if you are at that table, bring somebody else. And all lanes are equal. I don't care if you, we don't have ashtrays no more, so I've been around too long. All lanes are equal, okay? If your job is making the phone calls, you working just as hard as someone who's in the street. Find your lane or lanes, but all lanes are equal. Sometimes just showing up is an act of defiance. Breathing is an act of defiance. Don't sit around here waiting for somebody. I'm so tired of hearing this. What is everybody else doing? Nobody else doing. Look in the fucking mirror and ask yourself that question. We all have the same job. If I hear it one more time, you're probably gonna get cussed out. Because everybody, you got a family, you got friends. You are the answer we're looking for. Nobody's coming to save us. Stop waiting for other people. Start where you're at. I'm not kidding. It can be this big. My daughter is an advocate now. So please stop waiting for the grand thing and us. We tired. Every one of y'all got the same access. And if you want to reach out to us and ask us a question, then do that. But don't be waiting for other people. Nobody doing nothing. We all doing something. What are you doing? I'm done, y'all. Huh? Oh, yes. I'm loud. I won't have a voice in a minute, but it's all right.
We're going to try this one. All right. So as Vanita kind of gave us a nice little segue into, this is the opportunity for you to come to these mics. If you're not able to, wave your hands. Elena and myself, we can come to you. But really ask your question, give a comment, whatever you want to say. This is your moment. This is your opportunity. Do not leave here without taking that chance. Also, I want to keep us grounded with some agreements. Keep in mind that the time limit needs to be 2 minutes.
Thank you.
So if you need to practice it before you get up here, baby, go ahead and do that. Max said write it down. So if you got to step out, do what you need to do, but 2 minutes, I don't mind cutting people off. I'm telling you that now. Speak from the I and welcome different items, different perspectives.
And I don't want to hear about we and they. Okay? Name what you're talking about. Everybody want to blame they and we. Are we talking about ourselves or name who the fuck you talking about?
All right. Keep in mind for the people coming to the mic, unless they mention that they want to be recorded, We ask that you respect their privacy and not record them. We also aim for inclusion and make sure and remember that this is not perfection. So anybody that comes up to the mic, if you want to ask the panelists a question or if you want to reflect on the 2 questions yourself, baby, take the moment. The mic is yours.
All right. Oh, y'all can hear me?
Yes.
Okay, good.
Tell us your name so the world will know you.
So I'm Kanisha Harris. I'm from New Orleans, Louisiana, representing LCCH and the founding director of Father Light Advocacy and LGBTQ Resource Center in New Orleans. I'm pissed. I'm frustrated. I'm angry. For multiple of reasons. For I have vented about this several times throughout the course of this weekend about what's going on in Louisiana and with HB 76. Overnight, last night, the bill passed out of the House, and I'm pissed. I am extremely pissed. And now with the fact that is on the fast track of being before June 12th, when the session ends, to land on Governor Landry's desk to be signed, I am frightened. I'm I'm really like visibly I'm frightened because of the fact of out of all the people who's a part of my coalition and all the work that we have done to try to change our statute in Louisiana, and now we have been hit with this curveball, or like what Dee said, a side quest. So, like, now I'm trying to like in my mind how to pick up the pieces and move forward because of the fact that like I'm not you I know how to advocate. I've been doing this for 20 years. I know how to advocate. But the constant side quests and side missions is getting too much for me. So how is a person like me who has been doing the work can continue to stay grounded in it without being say burnt out?
Thank you. Not just for your question, but for what you do. I think it's imperative that when we're trying to solve a problem, we first identify the problem, which is one of the things that you've done, and then we assess what needs to be done. How do I work with others to ensure that additional legislation doesn't get passed? And that is generally not something that one person is capable of doing. Gone are the days of Fannie Lou Hamer when she could start a movement that has helped every person in this room. So I would encourage you and everybody in here who's facing similar things. I mean, after all, some of the most disgusting bills in the country actually in recent years actually started in the state where we are. HB2 is House Bill 2, which is considered called the bathroom bill, started right here. That was one of the very first things that Project 2025, that the current Republican Party, that was one of the trial bills that they used, that they're now that has fueled the type of bills that you're talking about in Louisiana and in Georgia and across the country. And so identify what the problem is, identify some solutions, and then work with others. You all create the lanes that you need to be in order to get the solutions that you need. Everybody shouldn't be, in my opinion, everybody doesn't need to be working in sex work decrim, especially if you've never done sex work. It's not that you shouldn't, that you can't. Everybody just doesn't need to be there because some people, as a former sex worker, occasional sex worker and former sex worker, what I realize is some people are actually working hard to take us further back. And so whatever those particular issues are that you and others identify in Louisiana, you all have to create coalitions. You have to both take a long-term approach, but also a short and medium-term approaches as well. What can we do right now in this moment? Sometimes that is simply showing up and protest. What can we do that we can do in the next 3 to 6 to 12 months? That's more of a medium-term approach that helps to counteract. That's where you get education. And then long term is actually making sure that you're getting people in positions who can vote. In other words, people who are living with HIV, trans people, gender expansive people, people for whom English isn't their first language, to actually become lawmakers. Does all of that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense. But with the quick turnaround that we're having right now before the session ends on the 12th, it's like we have to like find a whole new strategy within that.
Okay.
Yes, you
That's
do.
gonna answer that.
Yes.
So one of the things that I constantly think about, especially in these times, is it's a counterpunch. What we're constantly getting right now is the advocacy that you've been doing has been that punch. It has been the continued work. But we have to understand that the opposition is always going to have a counterpunch. And because of the different accesses to power that they do have, they do move things at times. And we've seen this across states, especially states in the South, where they move legislation in the dark. And the next day you will see a very bad piece of legislation that you were not made aware of. That will continue to happen because the states are copying one another to do so. They didn't get House Bill 76 out of nowhere. That was already tried in other places, and what they are doing is trying, and Governor Landry and his conservative minions are trying to create a space where they can perfect it, right? The way in which we do this is continue to come in here and work with others, but also work in coalition. I also talked to Dorian about this. There's an elected official in Louisiana who's a PrEP user, a gay black man, who I think would also be able to speak more to this issue and support you in your coalition work. We can also talk about making sure that y'all have a connection together and can continue to be advocates around this. It will also take time to do a long-term strategy, no matter what, and continue the work that you have done and work with some of the people that you might have fizzled out with in the last couple of years for a number of different reasons, and that doesn't go for you, but for anybody in the room. It is not time to just say, oh, we going to stay on these sides. Actually, this is the time to, we actually need to take accountability, try to make amends to be able, because there is bigger fights coming. In order to do that, we actually have to be in coalition and come together and have some of those hard conversations to be able to be the better advocates against the continued attacks so we can make those pivots for those counterpunches.
And if it only passed the House, it hasn't passed the Senate, right?
No.
So it ain't over. It ain't over. This is social media. I have went to every legislator's office in Texas. It ain't over. Take to social media, change your messaging so that you can get other people involved. It ain't over. And even if it passed, it don't have to stay. So it ain't over. Visit every senator's office, find out the committee it's going to be on. Go to them, educate, bring the stories, bring some people who look like them. Get you the champions. Most legislators have GLBT caucuses. It's time to pull all stops out. Do not be discouraged. It is not over.
And just one other piece, because I know this particular about Louisiana is also conservative black legislators are not to be led away with this, right? We must hold everyone accountable. Democrat, Republican, black, white, all those elected, they must be held accountable to our folks, and they do work for us. I know many of them act like they only work for that white man up there, but there's also, they must actually work for us, and that is the key in our importance to democracy.
And let me tell y'all something. We wait till the general elections to get involved. It's time to primary people. Find the candidates that you can support. Primary those folks. Don't wait till the general. It's all done. Now find your people who you want to replace that seat. That's a long game, but do it. We got to do more than get involved in the general. We need to start before primaries getting our people.
Hi, I'm Jasmine from Louisiana, so I've been working with this bill as well. I'm pretty new to this space. I first started my journey as a public health student, and I was interested in HIV, and so I did my internship at a clinic, and I asked um, the executive director, what can someone without a lived experience do that would be the most impactful? And he told me to come into this space. And so that's how I got involved with the LCCH. And I'm so privileged and honored to be here now speaking before you. Um, and I think as a young person, as a cis woman, and the type of person that I am, the piece that, and as a veteran, what Vanita said really spoke to me because I feel as if I do carry a lot of privilege, and I try my best to take advantage of that and leverage that any way that I can, any opportunity I can. Do not catch me in a bar. I will not stop talking about HIV decrim. But all of this to ask, I think as time moves on, this movement can have more and more allies. And my question is, how can we prevent doing harm?
Doing harm to.
I like that. Okay, thank you.
That was a good question.
That was a great question.
Doing harm to.
In general.
Oh, okay. We're going to make some mistakes.
We're going to make, yeah, you're going to cut and you're going to bleed.
Mhm.
Just don't do it. No, really. Really. I often tell, y'all can hear me in the back, can't you? You can't hear me in the back? Okay. I do. Thank you. We, as humans, it is impossible not to mess up. That's biblical. As advocates, it is impossible not to mess up. That's humanity. The thing is, when you mess up, sincerely apologize and don't do it again. It's real simple. Also, ask people, this came up during one of our previous sessions, ask people what they need, do your best to provide, and also be willing to say, I don't know, or I'm not the right person. And also be willing to say at the same time, I do know and I am the right person. And so there are times when you need a microphone, there are other times when you don't. As an ally, as a cis ally, all those, there were a whole, as a veteran, there are a whole bunch of advocacy avenues that I heard in just what you were, as a college student and all this, I heard all of these different avenues. Of advocacy, I encourage you to figure out which of those lanes work best for you and the places where you can be most effective right now, and the places where you're less effective right now. Strengthen yourself in those areas so that you can be more effective later. There's some people who need to hear from people who don't have HIV about why HIV criminalization is wrong.
Yes, 100%. 100%.
And we will never end it without other folks. There's not enough of us. So, what chronic illnesses is criminalized versus pills versus prisons? So, you might have to change the way you talk about it. Sometimes I don't even say the word criminalization. I'm talking, and then we get there. So, just you will fine tune it and don't worry about making a mistake. It's gonna happen.
Thank you.
And we need you.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, my name is Melanie Reese. I'm in the Maryland Coalition to Decriminalize and Modernize HIV.
Yay,
Maryland.
Maryland.
Maryland had a win this session. The bill was signed on May the 20th and will become effective October 1st. A full repeal of our Maryland's HIV specific statute. However, we got to win. Short celebration because our coalition work is never done. Long game. We heard it today and we've heard it this weekend. We have to plan for the long game. When you plan for the long game, just like Tori said, you have a short and a medium goal, but you're always working toward the long goal. And what we found is We named our law after one of the advocates
Yes,
who
you did.
died doing the work to decriminalize. What that did is the old statute is still there, and we have to work to remove it from the books. But we decided it needed a name that people could recognize and that there are people behind this law. And so that's how we were able to make the change to get the Senate, because the House was always behind it, but the Senate, we got the chair of the committee where it was going to be heard to co-sponsor the bill. With his name on it, he was not going to not let that get out of his committee. So you have to keep changing up what you're doing, because everything you've done is not all failure. You've lessons learned, and you use those lessons to map out your next plan of action. But I have visible and invisible disabilities. That's no excuse to not do something. Everybody can do something. And you have to look across the aisle for your enemies and get some of them to turn coat. And that's a lot of work, but it's necessary.
Thank you, Melanie. She's right.
Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
All right. My name is Teresa Sullivan. I use she and her pronouns, and I'm a force to be reckoned with.
Yes, you are.
So I'm bringing y'all some good news. In Pennsylvania, we don't have a statute. What we have is sentence enhancements. And one of the things that we worked on, talking about the long game, it was a long time, right? We had one criminal code still on our books in Pennsylvania, and that's calling it prostitution, right? But you can get more in sentence enhancement if you're living with HIV, right? So we've been working on that. It's a coalition, the Pennsylvania Justice Alliance, along with the Cheryl Project and many other advocates. And yesterday, we had some force to be reckoned with: Sean, Andrea, Rhonda Goldfine, and other people up in Harrisburg at a hearing. I had the privilege of watching the video, right? And I had the privilege of sharing it, right? So when I was listening to the feedback from some of the cheers, I already recognized some of them not going to vote for it. It's called House Bill 632, right? To end the criminal code for people who are living with HIV who may be doing sex work. That's what I call it, right? And I call it survival work too, right? So making it more harder and a more harsher sentence because you're living with HIV, because you have a health condition. They don't punish no one else. I'm a diabetic. You don't see me being punished to be a diabetic, right? So, but they're doing that to us, right? Because of doing sex work, and they call it prostitution, which I do not call it, right? I call it other means of employment.
Thank you.
Period, right? Period, right? And that's reality that we live in. But like I said, what you said, they don't know us. They not like us, right? They don't know what we're doing. Yesterday I had my boots on the ground T-shirt because when my boots are on the ground, my fingers are on the pulse of what's happening in my community, and I just wanted to celebrate, as we say, the small wins, right? It's a small win. It ain't over because again, of course they said, well, we're not gonna vote on it now. And I know we're gonna have some opposition. We always do. Right? But in the midst of them doing that, we're gonna strategize for our next punch. Now, not until they come back, right now. Where we're gonna be ready in case it does go in the opposite direction.
That's right.
But I have faith and I have hope in what was said and the lived experiences and the expertise. One of the people that was there also works with me at Philadelphia Fight, Dr. Cosman, and he testified as well, right? Which is really important. And again, he's a white doctor. Get people who look like them, speak the truth around medical and science, right? Making sure that we're talking about science, right? And when the main thing about this bill is to remove the stigma that stops people from getting tested and staying in care. Everyone has a right to get tested and get their care. Stigma still fuels this epidemic right to this day, and I've been living with HIV for 30 years. and I still hear it. So again, this is a small win. We're waiting to hear back from them. So I'm gonna eat cake.
Yes. Congratulations.
Hey, everybody. My name is Janae. Thank you to all the panelists. Thank you to all of you who have come out. My pronouns are she and her, and I am an unapologetically black trans woman from Jackson, Mississippi. I just wanted to say that when I think about decriminalization of HIV, I think about how we begin to make HIV a normal conversation. I think if we start to normalize the conversation in our homes, in our churches, in our neighborhoods, when we're just hanging out with the fellas, or we having our girl time chat over the phone or whatever. Um, Whether that be an ally, whether that be someone positive, whatever that looks like. That right now it's like taboo. It's a very uncomfortable conversation. And I think once we start to make that conversation something more normalized, people will start to actually want to know more, or they'll have the education that they need as it being not a crime, right? Because then the science will make sense to people, because you know, we as kids, we learn from the things that we see and that we hear, right? And so we have to make sure we bring this to people so they can see it and they can hear it, because then you start to understand, right? I think also that when you said, when you have to use your privilege in the spaces that you're in, that's also very important as it looks to decriminalization. Because at the end of the day, like you said, there's some people that you can reach that I can't reach. There's spaces that I can go in that you can't go in, And so it's important that we make sure that we are being like ants, and everybody's working for the same being. We all bring it back to Bill in this colony, right? Um, for me, I think also it's our religious leaders have a very strong um, weight in community, and even with our politics. And I think so. um, Infiltrating through our churches is also a very important place to bring decriminalization. And I think that's how we're going to be able to reach members of community by the mass, because the people in the church come from those more wealthy neighborhoods. When you go to certain churches, you know how they got certain schools you go to if you live in certain neighborhoods. Some people go to certain churches outside of the neighborhood that they live in, and that's where they all choose to hang up and gang up at over there. So we should maybe try and find ways like this. Even nursing homes, I think I heard Miss Billy saying it. Sometimes even our elders of community don't have that information, or even need that information, so that they're able to use that and give to their generations that they have. And so that's just what I want to bring. Oh, and again, I'm in Jackson, Mississippi. If any one of you are ever in Mississippi, look me up. I want to come to your states. I want to be able to support you in your areas. I think whenever, like you were saying, how that's you got something going on in Louisiana, this is a space where you network to meet people, to where if you don't have enough people in your rally or in your marches in your state or in your area, then guess what? That's what we are here for. We can come together and we can make sure that we show up in your state, because at the end of the day, it's the fight for us all. So we come over there and we're gonna support you over there. And then when we have something going on over here, when we plan this, as when you think about strategic planning, the strategic planning that it took to get all of these people here in this space for this reason is the same type of planning we should be doing to take people to Louisiana, because they had that situation going on, or taking people to Michigan so we can make sure we fight for those laws and de-ratify. It's just all about teamwork, y'all. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does this work? Hello?
It is live. Yeah. Okay.
Oh, just one.
Good morning. Oh.
Just like 1 second.
What?
1 second. Sorry,
Sorry.
friend. For the folks who are on bus one, if you're leaving, if you're on bus one, please start making your way to Bowen Hall to get on the bus. If you don't know if you're on bus one, Please check Hoover to see if you're on the list. Thank you so much for being with us, and safe travels. Bus 1, please start making your way to Bowen Hall. If you're on Bus 1, please start making your way to Bowen Hall. Thank you.
I'm losing half my audience. Damn. Life is tough. Life is tough. Hey, I'm Dorian Gray Alexander from New Orleans, Louisiana. I know you've heard a lot from Louisiana, but there's a lot going on. The biggest thing that I want to bring forth is that the biggest funding for people living with HIV is Ryan White. Ryan White is under serious attack right now, and HHS funds are also under even worse attack. So when you go home, because we're all affected pretty much by Ryan White in some way, parts A, B, C, D, or F, although F is going to be fucked pretty soon. Yeah. So when you go back home, in addition to talking to your Ryan White Part A planning councils or cabs in those other parts around decrim, because we do need people in those Ryan White spaces to start to listen to us, to demand that they hear us, to scream at them, to be thrown out like I have more than once, but it's okay because I'll keep going back. And censured, whatever the fuck that meant. But, it is. But really, talk to them about decriminalization, whatever city, county, state you're in. But the biggest thing, we need people living with HIV to really start to demand to hold their Ryan White planning councils, their Ryan White funders accountable. They need to have a plan for what's going to happen if funding is cut. It is very serious. It is very likely that some Ryan White funding besides F is going to be cut. And even if it's not cut, whenever they cut Medicaid funds and take those in insurance and also services away, because Ryan White is payer of last resort, all the people who were assisted by Medicaid are going to have to go onto Ryan White. There isn't enough money in Ryan White already, and here is going to be a bigger demand. It's going to affect us. I don't know who here recalls the days of wait lists to get ADAP drugs, but it sucked. And it was scary. It could get a lot worse. So go back home and get your Ryan White planning councils to talk about decrim, but also to start to have scenario plans when the funds end or get cut back in Ryan White. Thank you.
Disrupt those Ryan White meetings, everybody.
Yeah. Disrupt them. Scream at them. Demand answers.
I also just want to add, and thank you, Dorian, for bringing that piece up. I also I host a noon call every Tuesday where we give updates around the attacks federally around this, and we also understand the attacks on Medicaid also will only just put and the cuts to HIV prevention dollars mean there will actually be more of a burden on the Ryan White program over the years, and that, as we're saying, the wait list for ADAP, the program being overwhelmed, all of that will happen. And also, the other thing that we're also going to get an update around is from what we saw from fiscal year 26 is complete removal of HOPWA, and for folks that housing opportunity with people living with AIDS. That is an important also program, and we know that housing is healthcare, and we also have to continue to advocate to make sure that housing dollars are there to make sure to support people as well.
All right, this will be our last speaker.
Mine was just to say I appreciate you mentioning. Sorry, my name's Apollo. I'm from Oklahoma. I just want to say I appreciate you talking about the need for everybody pulling together, whether it's an immigration issue or trans issue. I felt bad that I was slacking on my HIV advocacy because I was worried about my agency being the only provider for transgender people to get substance abuse treatment. So if they were in jail, no other place would take them, so they would just sit in jail until we could get them into our rehab. And I was feeling guilty for that because I thought I wasn't doing my part. These places are really important to me and to people who do advocacy, because sometimes we need that refresher, that rejuvenation of, hey, we're not alone. And even if we're helping out this part right now, like I've lost friends and families who've gone deported to, we don't know where they are, but that's still part of our issues. But I know in my agency where I work, what I can do is make sure that we serve trans people still, and that we are accepting of LGBT people. And we are also the only one that openly advertises that we take people living with HIV. I am grateful for where I work, that they let me do my advocacy work there. And I just want to say thank you for having this event, and I appreciate it. That's all.
All right, y'all. I think we're gonna start wrapping it up here. Um,
To get HIV medicine just like all around the country. It's horrible. And criminal and oh. And I also want to say the criminalization, not only for HIV, but we are being criminalized for being transgender people. They are putting my my trans girls in jail for just being transgender. And they're coming down on us hard. You know, I don't take no shit. I speak out. You know, they're going to have to take me down, you know. They're going to have to chase me and get me down. But I just want to say fight, fight, fight. Because, you know, we don't know how long before they come after us, black and brown people. You know, in San Francisco, they're going to the immigration office. ICE is getting people. So Donald Trump wants to do the same thing to black and brown people. You know, whenever I'm on the street and I see a van coming, I jump because you never know if that van going to stop and they're going to pull you inside. So I'm just saying, you know, it's dangerous. So please be careful and take care of yourself, you know.
all right, y'all. Panelists, do we have any final thoughts, reflections, things you want to let the people know?
So you all have heard us say it several different times in different ways, and some of you have said it. You know, find your lane or lanes and stick to it. And I'm reminded, and I promise you, I wish I could remember who first said this, but when we think about grassroots movements that have changed the way that we live, the civil rights movement has to always be at the forefront of our minds, because the civil rights movement, it empowered white people to hang out with black people, not just black people to hang out where we wanted to. It provided some legal recourse and in a bunch of different ways. But one of the things that I think that always sticks with me is there were people who marched, there were people who drove marchers to DC. There were people who were at home during the march frying chicken. You might not be a marcher and you might not have a driver's license, but if you know how to fry chicken or whatever it is that you do, I encourage you to do that with sincerity, with integrity. Do it as often as you possibly can. and do it for as many people as you possibly can. That's your lane.
It's hard to follow that up. Things I definitely want folks to know and understand here is, as I said, it was like what we are doing is not enough because we are not doing it collectively enough together to actually make it even stronger. Uh, at times, you may feel powerless, especially as you continue to look and, for myself, stay in touch with what is going on in DC constantly. uh, and also what you see in your own states or your local communities. But the importance is when you talk to more people about what that is, when you engage more people in your community, when you are talking and engaging with folks that may be working in your clinic, maybe working down the street from you, your neighbors, your family members, engaging all of them is the important piece to this. Having community in this time is important. Isolation kills. I want to repeat, isolation kills. So we have to be in community with one another in order to do that. I've at times, even in spaces for me, I've shrunk myself and said, "Oh, I shouldn't be in this space as much anymore," or it's really hard right now. Those spaces didn't get better because I was not in the room. Those spaces didn't grow better because I didn't do more work. It is important for us to be able to show and do more of the work. If there were spaces that you were in the past you haven't been in a while, but you're like, they could use this. They could use some more work. Or there's some more folks that need to be able to do this. It is important also to bring the next generation of folks into this work. It is the only way that we will continue to win this. We must focus on that. We must work on that. And we must also work with the communities that you are not used to knowing. If you are not used to folks that don't look like you also doing that work, then you have not done enough work. Because we have to engage folks that don't look like us. We have to, because the civil rights movement wasn't just black folks, all right? We have to understand that in any movement, it was just wasn't in any community. And in order to work together, we also have to be in conversation with one another. And that also means deep strategic conversation. That means hard conversations. I believe in the term intersectional solidarity. I use it a lot. Intersectionality is the belief of different folks have intersecting things that impact them harder. Solidarity is the actual action of showing up for folks and continue to do that. So it means showing up for the folks that may not look like you. And as Vanita said, she's going to show up for trans rights. I'm going to show up for trans rights. I'm also going to show up for women's rights. I'm also going to show up for immigrant communities. And I'm also going to show up for poor folks that are going to get a lot of their spaces cut from them. I'm going to show up for those people that are unstably housed. These are important things for us to be able to do and to continue to show community and to organize those folks to continue to show that they are the true majority of this country. They are the true majority of this country. And if we continue to do that, we can decriminalize HIV. We can continue to fight for the things that we need in our communities, and we can fight towards a more liberated world. Thank y'all.
All right, y'all. We reached the end of our time together. I just want to thank our panelists for their beautiful reflections. I want to thank y'all for your comments, your great reflections, your great perspectives and analysis. I want to thank my co-moderator Deketra over there. Thank you for running that mic. And yeah, I'm gonna turn it over to Kamaria for some last-minute announcements. Thank y'all.
Thank you all for hanging in here. I'm fading. I'm losing my voice slowly. But I also want to express gratitude for this conversation, this panel. I know a lot of times that we're home and we're having these conversations maybe only in our heads and don't have anyone to bounce it off with. So thank y'all for participating and sharing your perspectives as well. And just a reminder to everyone, please take care of yourselves in the midst of all of this chaos, and know that we have each other and we're not alone in this fight. Even once you go back home, you still have this. So carry this. I hope you carry this energy back with you. Um, yeah, I don't have the instructions for box lunches, so I think we're done here in this space. If folks want to head back to their dorm, and like if you're not finished checking out and baggage and things of that nature, if you want to grab some last minute trinkets that may still be out, we can start shuttling people back to Bowen, because box lunches, I believe, will be there, but I don't. Is anyone in the room? No. Nope. Okay. I've been texting, but no one's responded. So we're gonna head back to Bowen Kitchen Lounge. So where registration and luggage is, thank you so much, Kelly. Box lunches are located there. Any questions before y'all? Yeah, y'all can. Yeah, we're done. I believe we have carts outside. If they're not already there, they'll start cycling back in the next few moments. Also, huge thanks to folks that are on the virtual hanging out with us. Thank you. All right, bye everyone.